A pleasant good afternoon, viewers. My name is Javon Wilson, and I am so happy to be back on your screens out of 284 Media. Now, today, a very important discussion. We do know that the conversation on self-governance and what that means in the context of decolonization for the BVI, that conversation continues. And we do know also, without a doubt, there seems to be a lot of fear lingering in the atmosphere as the BVI considers a future of independence, a future of free association, and also integration. So this Sunday, that conversation continues with part 2 of the Frederick A. Pickering Memorial Lecture Series. So to speak with us today is the director of the Virgin Islands Studies Institute, Ms. Bernadine Lewis, of course, who is really going to dive into the importance of us facing this conversation head on. So stick with us. There's a lot more coming after this very quick commercial break.
The win.
What are the hell?
I'm freaking out.
Is about these people.
It's always a pleasure coming to you live and direct from the...
What's poppin'? What's really good?
Davis has won it for the
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, as promised, we are live today with Ms. Bernadine Lewis. She is the director at the Virgin Islands Studies Institute. Welcome back to 284 Media, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you, Jovan. It's really a pleasure to be here and to have the discussion on our upcoming lecture this Sunday at the Eileen L. Parsons Auditorium at 3 p.m.
Excellent. Now, the Frederick A. Pickering Memorial Lecture Series. Let's speak a little bit about what that is. What are some of the objectives as it relates to educating the public on this topic?
Yes, the lecture series actually is part of the outreach programs that are hosted by the Virgin Islands Studies Institute of the H. Laverty Stout Community College, which is a research institution, and we also provide information and whole activities of this nature to enlighten and educate the public and bring awareness of these really important topics that concerns all of us as citizens of the territory.
Excellent. And I know there's also, there was a part 1 of the series already. Let's speak about what that was like. What was the reception like, actually, for persons who were able to engage with it?
Well, that part 1 went really well. The guest presenter at the time was Gerard Ferrara, QC. Yes. He did constitutional evolution and gave us a really snapshot of the history of our constitution, where it came from and how it developed over time. And that sort of set the tone for the other 2 lectures that are coming up on Sunday. It was very well received. We were quite surprised. Quite a number of persons were in the audience at the auditorium. Of course, given the protocols now with COVID and everything, the attendance was really well, but we had a lot of persons who actually tuned in via ZBVI and also via our Facebook page. But in person, the attendance was well, and the questions and so on that were asked were also very enlightening.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned that a lot of persons attended that forum, but when we reflect on past forums, especially as it relates to having these type of conversations about the BVI's walk to autonomy and various different elements, it seems like there's still persons who are very uncomfortable with even the thought of us heading in that direction. What would you say is influencing that mindset, and what do you think we can do as a community for persons to become more confident in that walk?
Well, I think that persons are probably not quite comfortable because maybe they don't understand the history of our political development. A lot of times they seem not to quite grasp what a constitution is, and the benefits of a constitution, the whole functions of the constitution, and the roles and responsibilities of all of us as citizens and residents. And actually, I have a copy of it with me here this afternoon. It's quite an extensive document. And I think documents like this that probably seem to the public to be couched in a lot of legal language and terminology and so on, can be a bit frightening.
Yes.
But it's really important that we understand, what the Constitution is and how we can benefit. I will venture to say that last year we started this conversation through an initiative called My Virgin Islands Story, where I was a guest on the Vigilante Dialogues with Sheena Smith, now
Yes.
Sheena Smith Archer, and
Who's
we were actually
very much guiding the conversation as well.
Yeah, we were actually looking at social development and economic development and political development of this territory, because she did a course at the college in Virgin Islands history, and she found it very enlightening. And so we had about maybe 2 or 3 episodes, and we got to the political part. And she came up with this idea of My Virgin Islands Story, and we collaborated on it. And this is how this particular, I decided to host it under the Frederick Pickering Memorial Series, the lecture series, and we actually started last year.
Now, you spoke about the Constitution, and clearly, like you mentioned, a document that as residents of the territory and as citizens, we ought to be perusing. It's very important that we understand what's in the Constitution. But like you rightfully said, it could be a bit intimidating, being that it's such a thick piece of document and in the language that is being presented for the general persons to understand. So I do believe it's a very timely conversation as we project forward, especially now since we're going through constitutional reform. So part 2 is coming up on Sunday. What is the context of this discussion, and who are we hearing from on Sunday?
Well, yes, as the dialogue continues, there will be 2 presenters this time. We have Dr. Carlisle Corbin, and he's right from Our Neighbors Next Door, USVI, but he's an international advisor on decolonization.
Yes.
So the actual topic will be decolonization, and he will be looking at decolonization after emancipation, The exact title of the lecture, he's looking at decolonization, self-determination, and so on and so forth. And the second lecture will be Mr. Benito Wheatley, and he will look at the BVI government's place or the context, decolonization in the BVI context. And he is the BVI government's advisor on international relations, whereas Dr. Corbin, he is a UN expert on self-determination. So we have 2 experts really on this topic.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we look forward to a very rich and an enlightening conversation come Sunday. Now, you mentioned the Virgin Islands Studies Institute, and what we've seen recently, Ms. Louise, is you and your team really taking a lot of these conversations to the forefront. Why is that so important to that department, especially being that it's positioned at our tertiary institution?
Well, as an education institution, we feel that we do have a role in educating the public on these issues. And I'm really happy to have partners such as, the Vigilante Dialogues with Shayna, with Mr. Ed Joenka, his show, with Honestly Speaking, and with my BVI, with Angel Cameron.
Yes.
And I'm really happy to have been able to partner with them. I thank them immensely for doing that, so that to be able to use their social media formats to get the word out there. Because like I said, it's important if we are going to have a say and understand really what the Constitution is and how it will benefit us down the road. Where should we be going? It's really important that we talk about this, that we start a dialogue on this topic so that people will really understand. Because even at the high school level, I think that we should really be explaining to the students what a constitution is. And because personally, I feel too that we should be looking at the young people as the future politicians and the future leaders of this territory.
Absolutely, and of course begin to break that down so that they can digest it.
Yes.
And continue the conversation, of course. When I think about these topics, constitutional reform, the walk to independence, free association, integration, like I mentioned before, not a lot of people buy into it, and I think it's important that we become very strategic about including a broader network of people and not just get them to listen, but really be a part of the conversation. So what do you want to say to wider BVI as we begin to wrap up as it relates to not just, listening in on the conversation, but coming out this Sunday, June 6th at the Eileen L. Parsons Auditorium to make their various contributions?
Yes, I would say it's very important that, everyone participate. I mean, we have a role to play. It's our responsibility in being a part of this because this affects all of us. The last written constitution that we have had was 2007. Yes, and that's almost, 14, 15 years ago.
Yes.
It's about time that and in 2020, I think there was an announcement that we are looking at a constitutional review. But for it to be effective, we really have to participate as citizens of this territory. And that means understanding what it is we want, our structures of government to look like, our governance structures to look like, transparency, accountability, all of that. And when we don't understand, I guess we tend not to participate or just shrug our shoulders or that's for someone else or whatever. But this is our country, and we should be a part of it. And in order to get any changes, we'd have to go through what you call a referendum. So it's really important that we participate and understand what it is that we want and what we are doing.
Absolutely. Now, viewers, just like you heard Ms. Louise said, I think it's imperative that we continue to examine not just the socioeconomic, but also the political journey of these Virgin Islands. There is a term, Ms. Louise, an African term called Sankofa. It keeps coming to mind in my conversation with you. And it essentially says you have to go back. So it's important for us to always look back and reflect on the journey to determine exactly where we want to go and what the future should look like for these Virgin Islands. So I want to thank you and your team for, of course, constantly bringing the conversation to the forefront. And we definitely are looking forward to the conversation on Sunday with Mr. Corbin as well as Mr. Whitley at the Eileen L. Parsons Auditorium.
That's correct. So thank you very much for having me. And I just want to say to the public again, you can come to the auditorium in person, or you can tune into ZBVI, or you can tune into our Facebook page at facebook.com/HLSCC.VG and be part of the conversation.
Absolutely. Ms. Louise, thank you so much for joining us. Viewers, this was a very important conversation. That continues on Sunday, June 6th, at the Eileen L. Parsons Auditorium. The conversation, or the topic rather, is decolonization, and that is going to be at the FREDERICK Pickering Memorial Lecture Series. Again, this Sunday, definitely a conversation that you want to be a part of. My name is Javon Wilson, and it has been my pleasure bringing you this 284 Media feature. Do join us at 6 p.m. for our live newscast. Bye-bye.